Hey everyone, today I thought I would show you guys my level 32 Titan. So I'm just going to be talking you through what gear I use for my PvE loadout, and then I'll be going over the gear that I like to use for my PvP loadout. So starting out with my PvE loadout, I usually go with the Striker subclass, mainly because I find that it's a lot more useful than the Defender subclass in most situations, and I like the perks a whole lot more. So just quickly going over the perks that I use, starting with the grenade. I usually go with the flashbang grenade for PvE because I find that it's really good for taking out groups of enemies or larger enemies. For example, in the Crotter's End raid at the bridge section, I usually like to flashbang the gatekeeper because it completely immobilizes the gatekeeper and the person with his sword can just take them out with ease and the gatekeeper will not be able to attack you at all. For the Fist of Havoc, I have the Shockwave perk equipped because that will allow me to cover a larger area and kill more enemies, and thus generate more orbs. And it's actually quite useful in PvP as well because, say if I misjudge the distance between me and an enemy, and I miss the Fist of Havoc, I have a slight chance of getting them with the Shockwave, which is pretty handy. Next, for Stormfist, I have the Discharge perk equipped because it's really handy for getting out of any tight situations, because I can just melee an enemy and stun everything else around me and just quickly get away. I also have Transfusion perk equipped because that will allow me to regenerate all health when I get a kill with Stormfist. And that is extremely useful, that has saved me many times. I also have Shoulder Charge equipped, which I find works really well with Transfusion because, say if I'm on low health and I'm running around frantically, just trying to avoid enemy fire, and whilst I'm running, Shoulder Charge will charge up and I can just, run into an enemy, melee them, and then run away with full health. Plus, as a bonus, it actually comes in handy when trying to complete Erismorn bounties for getting kills with arc abilities or completing melee bounties. So moving on to my weapons, in my primary weapon slot I have the New Monarchy hand cannon Red Hand 9. Now, I do have Fatebringer, which is an amazing hand cannon, but I've recently been using this red hand and I really like it actually. I got it from the Nightfall and at first I was just going to dismantle it because, I thought it was just going to be some crappy hand cannon. But then I looked at the perks and I realised it actually has some potential. So the perks I have on this weapon are Return to Sender, kills with this weapon grant bonus ammo directly to the magazine, and Look in the Chamber, one random bullet in the magazine causes considerable bonus damage. It also has armor piercing rounds, single point sling, and explosive rounds, so that's a bonus. As for the stats, it's actually on par with both Fatebringer and Hawkmoon. It has the same rate of fire, the same impact, less range, however more stability, and the same reload speed. So that's actually pretty good. It does however have a magazine size of 10 rounds, but the Return to Sender round does kind of make up for that. It's not an amazing perk, it's not guaranteed to give you a bullet every time, but I guess it's better than nothing. And it also has Look in the Chamber, which makes this a viable option for PvP as well, but I will get more into that later on. Armor piercing rounds also does work well with the Return to Sender because, say if I'm fighting a group of enemies, low level enemies like thralls or dregs, I could potentially kill 2 enemies with 1 bullet, and that will increase my chances of gaining an extra bullet with less ammo, or with wasting less ammo, so that's pretty handy. Next, for my special weapon, I'm currently using the New Monarchy Sniper Rifle Prudence 2. Now, it's nothing amazing, there's nothing really special about this weapon, but I've kind of grown to like it. Now, if we look at the perks, it has Rodeo, reduces the severity of this weapon's recoil, and Clown Cartridge. Reloading this weapon has a chance to grant a larger than normal magazine, which is actually really useful, and I'll talk about that in a second. It also comes with high caliber rounds, Field Scout, and custom optics. So as I said, this isn't really anything special. There's definitely better snipers than this. It's probably beat out by most snipers really, but the main reason I like it is because of its high rate of fire. I found that it's pretty good, and even against bosses, because I could be pinned down or something and I want to put shots into the enemy but I can't really stay out for too long, otherwise I'll die. I can just quickly put my head around a corner and rapidly put off shots into the boss and then go back into hiding. And with the magazine size of 6 rounds, at least 6 rounds with Field Scout, you know, I can put in a lot of shots really quickly. And then with Clown Cartridge, that can increase the magazine size to something like 8 rounds. And it's also good for, you know, quickly getting rid of groups of enemies. So that's really the main reason I like this, is because it's so fast. The stability is okay. I mean, it's not horribly bad, but it's not great either. But I've gotten to the point where I can predict how the weapon will behave, and I found it pretty easy to be able to, you know, keep my reticle on the enemy's head and get those critical hits. Again, going back to the rate of fire, I found that it comes in really handy for the Crucible, because if I get a body shot on an enemy, then I can just pull the trigger and quickly put off another shot into the enemy to finish them off before they have a chance to run away. As you can see, I do have black armour, and I will probably be using that in a bit, but I just got this weapon, so I haven't had time to level it up or anything. Finally, for my heavy weapon, I'm using Yalahorn. Yeah, I don't think this needs any introduction. You know what this weapon is, you know what Yalahorn's all about. I doubt there's anybody who hasn't heard of Yalahorn yet. This thing just does insane amounts of damage, it is ridiculous. And not to mention, it looks gorgeous, especially them wolves. So those are my weapons for PvE. Now moving on to my armour. So as you can see, I have full Crota's End raid gear, which takes me up to level 32. And the good thing about having full raid gear is that I can equip any exotic that I want and still remain level 32. So as you can see, I have the Glass House equipped, and I'm still 32. I can equip the Mark 44 standard sides and still be 32. But for PvE, I really like to use the exotic gauntlets Rune Wings. Now Rune Wings is currently my favourite exotic armour piece because its exotic perk is heavy armour drops more often and contains more armour in each drop. This is amazing in PvE. This plus Yalahorn equals Yalahorn for days. With Rune Wings, one heavy armour pack can give me up to 5 rounds for Yalahorn. It is definitely one of the best exotics for Titans. That is really about it for my armour. There's not really much to say, other than, you know, I have full Crota's End raid gear. I gotta say, I actually really like the Crota's End Titan helmet. A lot of people say that it looks ugly and don't like it, but I don't know, I really like it, I don't know why. For my Titan mark, I am currently using the Honor of Cormorants. This is the one that you can buy from the speaker for Motes of Light. I don't know, I bought it because I liked it. I just like the look of it and the colours. But I will usually switch out my Titan mark depending on what I'm doing. So say if I'm trying to level up New Monarchy, I will switch to the New Monarchy Titan mark. Or if I want to level up my Iron Banner rank, I will switch to Yolda's Iron Sash. And then here, for my spaceship, I have the Rip Ship Pardoner, aka the Space Bus. And I actually quite like this despite how ugly it looks. I don't know, I kind of have a thing for weird aesthetics. I'm not sure why. For my shader, I have the Arctic Proxy currently equipped. I really like this shader. I'm surprised it's not actually a legendary. I got this from a legendary Cryptarch package. I also have the Sunsetting shader for hitting rank 4 with Eris Morn, the Cryptographic shader which you get for beating Crota's End, and the God of War shader, and the Thunder Devil shader. The ship I got from the Vanguard Rock Strikes, and same goes for my other ship, Little Light. I do have the Crota's End raid ship, but I don't have it on this character right now. And then my Sparrow is just the Vault of Glass Timebreaker. Then finally, the emblem I'm using. This is really special. This is the Sign of Opposing Will emblem, and it's the rarest item I own because I got it directly from Bungie. Now, in case you're wondering how exactly I got this, I was fortunate enough to have taken part in a community event called the Bungie Bounty, where for 1 hour, me and a team of 5 other Guardians, including Deej, More Console, My Name is Bife, Fraser from Destination, and Unknown Player, entered the Crucible, and any team who beat us during that 1 hour would get this emblem. But because we went undefeated for that 1 hour, we got the emblem for ourselves. And so that is how I got that emblem. Alright, that is it for my PvE loadout. Now moving on to my PvP loadout. Alright, starting out with the subclass, the only thing that has changed is the grenade. In PvP, I like to use the lightning grenade because it is really powerful. And if you know how to use these grenades, if you get really good with the placements, if you get smart about it, you can, you know, these are really effective against enemies. And I've had doubles, I've had triples with this grenade. I love it. For my primary weapon, I'm using the exotic hand cannon Hawkmoon. Now, I'm sure you've heard the stories about this weapon as well. It is incredible in the Crucible, it has incredible stats, and outstanding range, which basically turns this thing into a sniper rifle, and it just beats out everything. The special perks on Hawkmoon means that 3 rounds in a magazine will cause extra damage, and the cool thing is that those 3 shots can stack, meaning that some kills will be a 2-shot kill, and if you're really lucky and get a headshot whilst all 3 bonuses are stacked into 1 bullet, you could potentially kill an enemy with 1 shot to the head. That is just unbelievable. It's really rare that it happens, but it's definitely possible, and I've done it a few times myself. For my special weapon, I'm using the Fusion Rifle Light of the Abyss, which is the Crota's End Fusion Rifle. Now, I don't always use this weapon, I usually switch out my special weapon depending on what map I'm playing on, but lately I've been using Light of the Abyss, and I really like it. It's got such a fast charge rate which brings it on par with Plan C, the exotic fusion rifle, and it beats out most other fusion rifles. It's also got a pretty ridiculous range and stability. It's like firing a laser beam. It's just, I've been able to get kills at ranges that I didn't even think that was possible with this weapon, or fusion rifles in general for that matter. The special perks for Light of the Abyss are Crowd Control, kills with this weapon grant bonus damage for a short time, and Hip Fire. This weapon has bonus accuracy while firing from the hip. Now, one interesting thing about this fusion rifle is that it comes with skip rounds, which basically means that you can bounce shots off surfaces, which is interesting because I don't think there's any other fusion rifle with this perk. At least I haven't seen any other fusion rifle with this perk. I believe this is the first. In PvE, it's actually quite handy for taking out groups of enemies or getting the overcharge fusion rifle bounty. And in PvP, I've had a few lucky times where I've missed an enemy, but they've been close to death, and I've been able to bounce shots off the floor and finish them off. Then for my heavy weapon, I'm using the Song of Iru, the Crota's End Heavy Machine Gun. Now, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this weapon. I mean, I quite like it, it eats through enemies, but it has a max rate of fire, which makes it really unpredictable, and because of this, damage is really inconsistent. For example, like sometimes I will just tear through an enemy in a few shots, but then I'll come across somebody else, and it'll just seem to take more shots to kill them. Even with enemies that are just a few feet away, it can be kind of difficult to kill them. That said, I will say for a machine gun with max rate of fire, it has exceptional stability. The perks for Song of Iru are kills with this weapon reduce the cooldown of your grenade, and projectiles will overpenetrate through Hive Knight walls of darkness. Also, as you can see, I have the exotic heavy machine gun Thunderlord. Now, this is a problem, because I really like Thunderlord, but I also really like Hawkmoon, which is also an exotic, and you can only have one exotic equipped at once. So what I will often do is, in the Crucible when heavy ammo drops, is I will switch Hawkmoon for something like Red Hand or Fatebringer, and then I will equip the Thunderlord. And in the Crucible, this weapon is an absolute monster. You just eat up the entire enemy team. It has a slow rate of fire, but it more than makes up for it with its high impact. It takes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it takes 4 body shots to kill somebody with this weapon. It is insane. I've gone on massive killing sprees with this weapon. I've had games where I've gone 13-0 with Thunderlord and Hawkmoon. I absolutely love this weapon. It is one of my favourite exotics. And it even has a hint of nostalgia to it because it was one of the very first few exotics to ever be shown at the 2013 E3 demo. Well, it was one of the first exotics to be shown in-game. The actual first 3 exotics to be shown in concept art was Thorn, Pocket Infinity, and Super Good Advice. And then finally, for my PvP armour, the only thing that has changed is the exotic I use. Instead of Ruin Wings, I like to use the chest piece, the Armamentarium, because it gives you an additional grenade. And whilst Ruin Wings does give you extra heavy ammo, it only comes in handy when heavy ammo is actually on the field. And so it's not really going to come in handy that often. So that's why I would rather use the Armamentarium, because I can constantly have 2 grenades. So there you have it, those are my loadouts for both PvP and PvE on my level 32 Titan. I hope you enjoyed the video, thank you for watching everyone, and I'll talk to you next time. In PvE, this plus Yellowhorn equals Yellowhorn for days. Like, Oryx should be shitting himself. He should be halfway across the galaxy now doing a legger, going into crybaby bitch mode as he hides in his little hive netherworld.